a question of legality that came to my mind. I want to throw that question to Dr. Levitt here. I know he's a distinguished international lawyer here. I think it was in 2023, the U.S. government, the Treasury's designated perpetrators of human rights abuses in Liberia. And among them, Dr. Levitt, was the former city mayor of Monrovia. His name is Jefferson Koji. Dr. Levitt, walk us through how these individuals can still be held accountable and face the full weight of the law, even though they are living in Liberia. If you are talking, Dr. Levitt, I think you are on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can hear me now.
Yes.
This is such an important question because I don't know of another country where 70% of the women suffered from sexual gender-based violence on the planet. And I think the global response to it has been poor because we saw the response to women victims in the former Yugoslavia. I do think, and I was appointed by Ellen to be the international technical advisor over the Liberian Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and some of the things that we talked about today, I was directly involved with drafting those. I think one of the great failures of her administration was not addressing this issue. She was symbolic in so many ways, which was empowering, not unlike at the same period of time, Barack Obama was symbolic and empowering in some ways. But when it came to the practical realities of holding persons accountable for crimes during the various episodes of civil conflict, I think the government failed. I think the government failed women in particular, because all of the perpetrators that were involved with committing crimes between 1990 and 2003, women had to live among them in their own communities, see them on the street. And this is why we wanted a prosecutorial mechanism. This is why we were fighting to hold individuals responsible for such crimes. So I think the lack of accountability in Liberia has only perpetuated this problem and made it worse in the long run. I remember a case when I was with ECOWAS in the early 90s, doing work in Liberia, and again with the Carter Center. I was working with Tiwan Gonglo, who was Solicitor General at the time, and there was a Minister of Justice. And I'll share two anecdotes that I think paint the picture. The one is that at the time there was a female Minister of Justice. I won't mention her name. And there was a question about the rape law, the marital rape statute at the time. And she says, there were cases that came before us. My job was to advise her and T1 on issues. And she said, well, we can't prosecute for marital rape in Liberia. And I said, Minister, this is not correct. I said, you can. And I said, you're also a signatory of these various human rights conventions that say that you must. And I went into some detailed analysis on how she was misinterpreting the marital rape statute and how she was misinterpreting how human rights law was applicable to Liberia, meaning that Liberia signed these treaties without reservation. So we used those things to make a broader argument, and she changed her position and began prosecuting some of these cases. Then there was a case I remember where a woman who was in an area outside of Monrovia, who lived alone in her house, had a very expansive yard, as we call it here, land. And one day the grass was cut. And the community members, the young boys, said there's no way that this old woman could cut her grass. The only way that she could do it is if she was a witch. So they abducted her and gave her the trial by Sassywood, but she survived it. And then they said only a witch. So essentially, if you take it and you survive, then you're innocent. If you die, then you're guilty. Well, she survived it and said only a witch could survive it, and they killed her. And so the question was how we were going to then prosecute these young men for murdering this woman. So at a deeply cultural level, there is a sense of violence. It is embedded, like in most cultures around the world, but it is particularly embedded there because it's been allowed to persist even when there was an opportunity to really create the legislation and laws and the infrastructure to prosecute these types of crimes. And so the anchor for Liberia is women. And if you don't empower the women, if you don't protect the women, if you don't allow the women to have an equal opportunity from the boardrooms on down, then Liberia will continue to suffer from underdevelopment. I don't think the issue has been taken seriously. And I think successive presidents have dropped the ball on this question. I think the impunity in Liberia is one of the root causes of the continued sexual gender-based violence there. And until a government is willing to prosecute individuals seriously and go back to the Civil War, some don't want to open that. I think you have to open it up. I think the highest level offenders who created a culture of rape and sexual violence who are still living should be prosecuted. And so I think we have an entire problem, and I don't think the international community is assisting, and I don't think the politicians have demonstrated the rigor to really address this issue.